Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of There's a Dog and a Cat Behind Me episode of This Is Our Life. My wife has a brand new red hot rod. She better not get a speeding ticket with it. Anyway, so one of my videos meant something to somebody, and I deeply appreciate that. So I thought I would talk about it some more. I, a part of me doesn't want to because by doing so, I'm going to talk about some very, very bad things, uh, very traumatic things. But I'm going to talk about it because I want people out there to know that life does get better. Now, if I were to recommend a book to help someone, I would recommend Dr. Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Somebody gave that to me a long time ago, and it just changed my life. But that worked for me. It may not work for you. So I'm sitting here. My wife is sitting over there. And I want to say, I mean, we have a good life. We have, issues, health issues that we deal with, but, we deal with them. And for those who know, I'm originally from Cadiz, España. And I tell you what, living under a dictator,
John,
it's living under a dictator ain't no fun. I mean, you watch people get shot in the street just because somebody happens to be having a bad day that day. Some Guardia Civil guy so he shoots somebody. People get hauled off to prison. I mean, you see this. You know it could be you next. But you don't, well, you have a choice. You can let it get to you, or you can just live your life and continue to live your life. I lived in Germany for about 5 months. That was just, to get papers to get it over here. I don't, I have nothing bad to say about my time in Germany. Um, I lived on Okinawa for 5 years, and that was great. I loved that. The bad stuff didn't really start happening until we moved to the United States. That's no reflection on the United States. Bad stuff happens everywhere. Um, when we moved to the United States. I was 8 years old, and you ever see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? I'm on the nicotine gum again, so you have to excuse me. Um, and that was one piece instead of two pieces. Um,
too much stress today.
yeah. Um, let's see here. We have stress in our lives, but we continue to live our lives. I'm not going to go through what's happened today, but it's nobody's business. But so I moved to Texas when I was 8 years old, and my wonderful mother sent me to Austin State Hospital. Oh boy.
What about a week after you moved there?
Within the first few months of living here.
Oh, God, bitch.
And
She should have been the one to go, not you.
that's true. And if you ever saw One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the old psych buildings, the old psych hospital buildings with the bars and screens and mesh, and that's what it was like. That was a scary place for an 8-year-old boy. And I know why I was sent there. Today, it's like this is what I was sent there for. people open about it on Facebook and in real life and online, and but back then, oh boy, and I saw a document that I don't know if the psychologist or social worker or what he was, but I wasn't the one with the problem. It said the mother seems to have a difficult time relating to her son. Well, that's not my fault, but I'm the one. It's like I got punished for her, whatever. But
Well, institutionalize her.
yeah, but
Treat her like shit.
but well, I don't want to treat anybody that way.
Well, she deserves it.
But anyway, so there was a lot of physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse that happened while I was there. Actually, there was abuse in every single institution I was in. It's just some places were better than others. And I look back on two places in particular because they were better than the rest. Edgemead, which that campus is now closed, and Bel Air General Hospital, which I don't know. I assume that place is still there. And I apologize for the lighting, but this lamp is kaput. Is that Russian or German? Kaput.
Who knows?
Anyway, the last place I was in, I've made videos about that place, Devereaux. Oh boy. You're talking about people that needed to be in prison. The sexual abuse, the physical abuse. It would not surprise me if they murdered some of the kids. I suspect that happened. I just have no way to prove it. One of the people I knew there, we're friends on Facebook. He tells me one of the guys is on death row. One of the guys that we knew in the dorm. It would not surprise me if 90% of those kids just went off the deep end. I know one of the kids from Edgemead, he died of AIDS. His name's on one of those AIDS quilts. He was one of my abusers. But I mean, I can spend all my time thinking about all this and all those things that happened to me. Or I can think about my wife. I can think about the life we have today. I'm not living 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 45 years ago. I'm living today. And you have to allow yourself to be happy. You can. One thing that I did, I didn't think I was like, well, this is ridiculous. But eventually I started doing it, and I was like, I have a bunch of stuff hanging off my belt. For those who know me, some of the stuff I.
Clatter.
What?
He clatters.
Yeah, I clatter.
He couldn't sneak up on somebody if he had to.
Yeah.
No, not a substantial amount of work.
Yeah. But I live today. I don't live back then. And when I do think back on those times, because we all think about our past, I have a choice. We all have a choice to think about the good or the bad. And one thing I started doing at one point was, I'm going to be happy. I told myself that. And I thought at the time that's ridiculous. But I told myself that. I told my positive affirmations. And I used them. And I did them every day. I did them whenever I just felt like it. You know what? Eventually it helped. You want to say I brainwashed myself? Go for it. And then my wife and I, we meet. And my wife, she hasn't had a easy life either. And, we moved up here, and, the first 6 months to a year that we were up here was,
Screwy.
yeah, all these wonderful activists that turned out to be
Shit.
whacked in the head. One of them, actually several of them, quite a few of them actually are very violent people, and one, the first violent person that we met, pulled a gun on his wife, beat and choked his wife. We found out later that he's not the only one that does that. And there's a reason we don't like you guys. You're not what you claim to be. And we wound up in a homeless shelter. These wonderful activists, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything to help us, So we wound up in a homeless shelter. And then we got this apartment. You wonderful activists didn't help us in any of that. And,
they want everybody to help them, but they don't want to help anybody else.
Exactly.
Assholes.
And as for the person that tweeted my video, I'm getting another piece of gum, I know. At least I'm not using the tobacco anymore. I had a can or parts of a couple of cans, and one thing I realized is I wasn't using as much tobacco as I had been before. And this is one piece of gum. I just put one piece of gum in my mouth instead of two. But just onto another. Look. So you choose to be happy or not to be happy, and I could tell you all sorts of horrible stories of my life, but why? That's not what I'm living. I'm living now, and I'm happy, and I have a beautiful wife. We made it through these things. You can make it through, but you have to. Sometimes, you know what? You have to force yourself to do it. You know how many times I used to wind up on the psych ward? 5, 6, 7 times a year. I haven't been in since we moved up here. And I'm thankful for that. And one of the biggest reasons is because I have this beautiful woman over here. And
I thought that one time we were going to wind up in there. We had to move.
Oh, yeah, I was throwing up.
Yes.
Yeah. But she was there by my side. And that's one thing Dr. Frankel talks about, is having someone to live for in your life. And I believe that. But I was going to say something and I wound up going all over the place. Politically, so if things can get better, I recommend Dr. Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He is an existentialist. He was an existentialist, excuse me. He's not alive anymore. When you think about what he went through, oh boy, you think, wait, I've been through anything? My wife has been through anything? We haven't been anything compared to Dr. Frankl. He lost his family in the Holocaust. He barely survived. Anyway, so on to the political thing. I want to say I'm an anarcho-capitalist, but if the people in Keene are any example of what anarcho-capitalists are, I ain't one. I am a libertarian, lowercase l. I do believe in free markets. I definitely have some rather conservative views on things. I also have some views that might be considered liberal, but most of my views are probably more on the conservative side. I've lived my life, okay? I've seen things from what went on in Spain under Franco to Germany to Okinawa to the United States, and there's a reason I have the beliefs that I have. And anyway, so I just wanted to share that. Hopefully something I say will help someone else. I don't know if it will, but if you're contemplating suicide, don't do it. Life does get better.